Rebel with a Cause, Mark Twain's Hidden Memoirs. Chapter 52, The Birth of Jean, 1880. On the 26th day of July, 1880, our fourth and final child, and our third and last daughter, was born to us in Hartford. We named her Jane Lambton Clemens for my mother. Our first three children were named for Livy's family and friends, so my side of the house finally got a showing with Jean. Yes, she was always known as Jean rather than Jane. I don't know why. Perhaps there was a Jean among my wife's girlhood friends, or a distant relation of hers, of which I was unaware. Jean loved animals from babyhood and never altered a bit in that special affection she held for the creatures of the hearth, the pen, the field, and the pasture. She inherited this love of the animal creation from me, for the most part. This devotion of Jean's to the animal kingdom moved her to fight for animal rights all her life. It was through her passions expressed in this realm, as well as my own feelings and convictions, that I felt compelled to write such stories as A Dog's Tale, which was a strike against the vicious practice of vivisection. More on this later. Editor's notes. In 1880, the year Jean was born, Twain wrote a sketch entitled Cat Tale, which gives insight into his telling of improvised stories to his daughters. Susie was 8 years old at the time, and Clara was 6. As was Jean, Susie was also an animal lover. Calling her by the nickname he had given to her because of her hairdo, Twain wrote of her at the age of 2, "The Modoc rips and tears around outdoors most of the time, and consequently is as hard as a pine knot and as brown as an Indian. She is bosom friend to all the ducks, chickens, turkeys, and guinea hens on the place. Yesterday, as she marched along the winding path that leads up the hill through the red clover beds to the summer house, there was a long procession of these fowls, stringing contentedly after her, led by a stately rooster who can look over the Modoc's head. The devotion of these vassals has been purchased with daily largesse of Indian meal, and so the Modoc, attended by her bodyguard, moves in state wherever she goes." In his running commentary on Susie's biography of him, as recorded in his autobiography, Twain wrote, "Apparently, Susie was born with humane feelings for the animals and compassion for their troubles. This enabled her to see a new point in an old story once, when she was only 6 years old, a point which had been overlooked by older and perhaps duller people for many ages. Her mother told her the moving story of the sale of Joseph by his brethren, the staining of his coat with the blood of the slaughtered kid, and the rest of it. She dwelt upon the inhumanity of the brothers, their cruelty toward their helpless young brother, and the unbrotherly treachery which they practiced upon him, for she hoped to teach the child a lesson in gentle pity and mercifulness, which she would remember. Apparently her desire was accomplished, for the tears came into Susie's eyes, and she was deeply moved. Then she said, 'Poor little kid,